sometimes with everything like that goes on in the world, I'm like, we might be in the hex ourselves, honestly.
Hey, I'd be here for it. Like, why not?
Welcome to Binge Twins TV. We have a very special treat for you right now. Before we get to it, go down and click subscribe.
I will never forget a couple of months ago seeing this YouTuber on Twitter tweeting about all types of geeky, fun topics. Next thing I know, we got a reply on Twitter. Next thing you know, we're having conversation.
Mama's Geeky, the one and only, a real life in the flesh, super mom, super geek. Go to her channel and follow. Super YouTuber. You need to know about Mama's Geeky and the whole platform, the website, the network. We're getting ready to chop it up with her about Wandavision.
I want to start with the end credit scene, and it's funny because I feel like people were waiting for an end credit scene. I kept seeing people say, like, when is there going to be a post-credit scene? I've been waiting past the please stand by. And so they give us this moment with Monica and Pietro. So I want to start there, like, because Pietro wasn't even in the entire episode, and then he shows up at the end real quick. So what do you think his deal is now? Because he's also connected to Agatha Harkness.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I will say, I think this is starting, we're not going to be in sitcom land anymore. And that's why they gave us that end credit, right? Where we didn't get it before. I think that's it for sitcom stuff, especially with the big reveal at the end. So I think this is kind of their way of saying, all right, we're like in the real MCU now, like no more sitcom stuff. I don't think he's actually Pietro, even though Agatha probably could have summoned him from another, multiverse, whatever, another dimension, brought him in, could have done that, sure. I still don't think he is. I think it's someone disguised as, whether it's like her son or Mephisto, someone she's working with, fully disguised as Pietro. I can't imagine that it's actually him. Plus, did you guys see the Funko Pop that they released, or that they're going to be releasing, that has Pietro in quotes on it? Yeah, it says Pietro Maximoff because it's him, but it's in quotes, and it's like, okay.
I mean, they knew what they were doing, what they were going to do to us by using him, because we're all waiting for X-Men to get incorporated and in the multiverse. Like, do you think maybe that sets up for like the next big cameo? Because we're everyone's talking about maybe another big one that's going to be like the big one.
I really hope that it's going to be a Professor X. I think if you're trying to bring in someone who can go toe to toe with Wanda. I mean, I'd love to see Magneto, but listen, Wanda beats him all day, every day. I'm sorry. If they go head to head, especially while she's so wound up and emotional right now, Magneto does not have a chance. It's not that I wouldn't like to see him. And I've always, as a fan of the comics, been a little annoyed that he's not her dad in this storyline. I get why they couldn't do that before, they didn't own him. But I've always been a little annoyed. It's like, if you bring him in, you've got to fix that somehow. And I trust Kevin to fix Kevin Feige. No matter what he wants to do, I 100% trust in him. So I think if they were to somehow do that, he could make it work. But I think if you want someone who's going to go and can really get to Wanda, it's going to be Professor X. They can go into the astral plane or whatever. I mean, he's someone who can literally get in her head. And I would love to see him. And of course, I would love to see Sir Patrick Stewart version of him. I think that would be amazing. And hopefully that's kind of why they gave us Evan Peters, as like a little hint of, you might be getting someone from the X-Men coming. Plus, I think Evan Peters is the superior Quicksilver. I'll say that all day, every day. And wow. I know a lot of people don't agree, but
yeah. He has the ability to be such a comedic actor too. I think in terms of the writing, they just gave him more opportunities to be expressive and be really funny. But I'm so glad that you brought up Professor Xavier, because he has a history of getting into some pretty crazy women's heads. And so that got me to thinking, because we like to do like some fun kind of fight trailers with characters on our channel. I'm sure you've seen a bunch before. Yeah. I heard you say that in another video that you were hoping for Professor Xavier, and I'm like, maybe we should do like a Wanda versus Jean Grey type of video. So I'm like, let me ask Tessa what she thinks and if she has any suggestions, maybe.
Oh man, I would love to see them up against each other. I think too, oh man, yeah. Now I'm like really thinking about it. That's a good like right? Fight. Yeah. Because, I mean, obviously they're both super crazy powerful. Oh.
We got to start on this.
I think this is the one. I think that's the one.
I don't even know who I would pick to
Me neither.
I'm torn. Yeah, I can't even.
I feel like it's Any Given Sunday situation with them. Did Wanda just have to watch Vision die again in front of her? She might win. Man, that's really, really good. I'd love to see that.
Right?
So, and even your point about Professor Xavier, so I think that's interesting. So, like, do you get the sense that someone like that, because, like, I know Doctor Strange is up in the air, too. People are, like, throwing this Reed Richards stuff out there, too. I think people just want to see someone crazy, right? But the way you said it, like, are you under the impression that whoever comes in has to be, like, someone to help shut Wanda down? Like, is that what you think it needs to happen in terms of someone more powerful coming in?
I think so. I mean, because why else? Why? That's the big thing. Why would you bring this person in and make it actually work? And Kevin and Marvel themselves don't do anything by accident. So yes, you could bring in Doctor Strange. It makes sense. Wanda's going to be in Doctor Strange 2. I think she's going to be an antagonist in Doctor Strange 2. I don't think she's going to be a hero. So you can bring in Doctor Strange, but that's too expected. And also, Paul Bettany has said that this person is someone he's wanted to work with all of his life. He's always looked up to this person. He's never worked with them before. There's a lot of people. I know a lot of people are saying, like, I guess he recently had said that he looks up to Al Pacino and Robert De Niro are two people that he recently said in interviews he looks up to. So they could totally be coming in. And who would they be? I mean, could they be Mephisto? Al Pacino has played the devil before in Devil's Advocate and done a fantastic job. I could definitely see him coming in and being a Mephisto, especially since Mephisto can look like anybody. So Mephisto could have been around. I mean, Mephisto could be Dottie, could be that cicada on the wall that we just saw, could be all these little things. And then here's the actor who's actually playing Mephisto, and you get a quick glimpse. So yes, I think there's that cameo, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's another quick, like, they need someone to help. Who can they have help? They're going to be bringing in mutants at some point. We know this. Why not give us a little tease now? Bring in Professor X to help. Same thing with Reed Richards, really. We know we're getting a Fantastic Four movie eventually. Why not have Reed Richards be there to help a little bit with something? Gives us that little tease, introduction to the character. The Fantastic Four has been here all along, or maybe that's how they get their powers, is this hex. I mean, that's how Monica's getting her powers. And then we see them in their own movie in a few years. Every time they give us an answer, they give us like 15 more questions.
I know,
yeah.
It's great. Thanks. I knew she was Agatha Harkness from like before the show started, but it's still exciting that they revealed it. But the way they revealed it was pretty awesome. And that song, like, has been stuck in my head.
Everything. It's the soundtrack of my life
so
right
good.
now.
It's so good.
Like, why is it?
It was her singing. Did you know that?
That's her singing it.
Yes.
Kathryn Hahn is an icon. I just want to put that out there. She is
She's
national, international, global icon. I love that woman. She can do no wrong for me ever.
I know. Oh, I adore her. Have you seen Mrs. Fletcher? It's a show she's in. There's only one season so far.
No.
I forget what it was on. You should check it out. She can do no wrong. She is just absolutely amazing. So I loved her in this role, and I think she was a fantastic choice.
I first saw her in The Goods. I don't know if you saw that movie. That was she was hilarious in that.
That's the thing. She's so funny, but then she's like so good. She can do like every kind of role, you know? Like she was so mysterious as Agnes, you know? She comes in and she does some comedy stuff, but then even when you get that little song, Agatha All Along, you can see where she was like devious here and mischievous here, and like when she's talking to Vision and she looks and like checks her makeup in the mirror and then like looks back at him. I was like, yes, it's giving me life. She's so fantastic.
So what's your sense of what's happening with the twins? Because they kind of like mysteriously disappeared there at the end. And then we were watching your video on the episode and I saw you mentioned like the possibility of Wanda losing Vision and the twins at the end of this thing, which just seems like so devastating. But just with the twins are fascinating. Obviously, we love the twins. We're obsessed with the twins, but you know, of course, obviously, but
you're a little biased.
Just a little bit, just a little. But like, I'm curious because I feel like the twins should and probably will like last. I'm waiting for them to realize that they're like not really real, like they're not actually here, but they're so powerful and they're so intuitive, and we know in the comics and in the universe they're real characters. So what's your sense on like how the twins will last after this?
I think they'll end up in Young Avengers for sure. I mean, they've been setting up Young Avengers and we're going to get it. And we're going to get, I mean, Wiccan, I'm calling him Wiccan. That's his name because That's what I will always call him. But he's like literally walking around in his like little Wiccan outfit, which is so cute. But in the comics, it's like if you go way back to the first time they were introduced, they were actually, you know, she created them, you think out of nothing, but it turns out it's out of pieces of Mephisto's soul, which I think is how Mephisto could kind of tie in here. But then you find out like way years later, as their actual characters, these little pieces of their souls, it's really super weird. Marvel is weird sometimes, especially in the comic books. I think Speed gets his powers. Wiccan doesn't get his powers until he actually meets Scarlet Witch by chance. Like he's gay and he was being made fun of at school and he's like running home and she comforts him and that's when it like clicks and he starts hearing people and he gets his powers. But it's the kind of the start of House of M because she gets like Superman when she realizes like I had these kids and the Avengers basically wiped her mind because they didn't want her to go crazy as she does. Right? They like made her forget about these kids because they didn't exist. Well, now they exist and they're her kids. And that's when she says no more mutants and makes like 80% of mutants all lose their powers, which is insane. So I feel like they could do something like that where she created them out of thin air or whatever, and they're not real, but then they become real because of something else. So maybe Mephisto or just, I guess maybe they'll just pretend her powers are like that strong. Because they did even say, oh no, didn't they say something like, oh, the twins are real, she created them? Because it is weird to be like, oh, their souls just like went back in time and became babies and then they became real people and then they didn't even know she was their mom and then they finally found out and they did like DNA testing. That would get a little too much for the MCU. They can pull that stuff up in the comics, but sometimes there's things you can't translate from the pages of a book to the screen and make it actually work. Although if anyone could pull it off, I think Kevin Feige could do it. But
I have to completely agree. You're in New York and we're in New Jersey. Sometimes with everything like that goes on in the world, I'm like, we might be in the hex ourselves, honestly.
I know, we could be. Hey, I'd be here for it. Like, why not? Although apparently it's very painful, according to everybody. So.
Yeah.
The town of Westview looks lovely for all intents and purposes.
I know, it looks fantastic. I want to go there. Everybody's happy all the time.
Yeah, there's probably a nice bakery on the corner or something.
Yeah. Oh, for sure there is.